Good evening and welcome to ESP TV. My name is Karen Bryce. Tonight's discussion is going to be on the police corruption in Norfolk, Virginia. My special guest is Marcus Adams, formerly of Virginia. He is currently a civil rights activist and advocate fighting police corruption within police departments across the country. In 1983, he filed two cases against Norfolk's police department, and the city settled both times. Good evening, Mr. Adams. How are you? I think we need to unmute our guests.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have me muted?
No, we have you. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm fine. How you doing?
Great. I am really interested to know how we were able to score such a stupendous coup in having you speak with us this evening on the corruption in the Norfolk City Police Department. First of all, I'd like to ask you, evidently the Norfolk Police Department was setting up people to become confidential informants for monetary gain. What were you doing, or how were you brought to their attention that you would be one of those people?
Well, I was set up as a juvenile, as a late juvenile, set up for a crime I didn't commit, and police used that to their advantage to make informants. But they're supposed to use the informants for solving crimes and helping them with crimes. But I was used for monetary gain.
Okay, if you were innocent of whatever they were charging you of, why didn't they believe you, or was there no one you could turn to, a public defender, anybody that would represent you and say that these were untruths?
Well, you're young and you really don't know too much about the law at that time. Public defenders only get you the best plea bargain that they can get. They're not there for your guilt or innocence. They're never there for your guilt or innocence. They're only there to get the best plea bargain that they can get. So no one cared if I was innocent or not.
My goodness. Okay, well, as a police informant, you must have been running in some circles where they knew they could get the information that they really needed. Is this true?
Well, it wasn't information from individuals. It was money that they wanted to support their families. Things like a lot of officers go through divorces. They want new cars. They have to move. They don't make enough money, so they use the streets to get money.
How did you benefit, or how were you benefiting them by helping them with their get money for their families?
Well, I would go out and I would people. My name became uh, widespread through the community that I could help people with charges if they got charges. So people would call me with their charges, and I would ask them who the prosecutor was and who was their attorney. And I would tell them they didn't have to buy an attorney, just go ahead and get a court-appointed attorney and we'll handle the rest. And by the time they go to court, it's all taken care of and we get paid for doing it.
So basically, you had an inside track on who to turn people to and get the information that they needed to keep them out of jail.
Right, but they wasn't giving up information. The thing is, we would say that they solved homicides, but they really wasn't. So prosecutors helped individuals for solving homicides more than any other crime. So if you solved a homicide, you were in trouble of a crime of nonviolence. Prosecutor will more than likely go with the detective with your charges.
How long did they keep you in this type of role?
About 25 years.
Did your family know what you were doing?
No, most of them didn't. Some did, but most of them didn't.
The people that you helped or assisted to keep them out of jail, Did they keep themselves clean at that point, or did they eventually end up going to jail for some other minor infraction or anything else?
Well, I would tell everybody that I would come in contact with, they have to stay clean during the trial process. And if they got in trouble again, I couldn't help them twice. Some did, some didn't. Some felt like they had a ace in the hole that they could go out there and wild out and they could get out of jail as long as they got money. So some people just did what they wanted to do, regardless of what I was telling them.
Okay, it seems like everyone in the system was benefiting and putting money in their pockets. So obviously, they were lining your pockets at work as well so that they could keep this system going. Is that true?
Yes, yes, that's true.
Can you expand on that?
Well, when uh, I used to go to Virginia Power when it was called Virginia Power to pick up
Okay.
crime line money, and I would give the detective 500 and keep 500. So I was doing that for a long time, and then they got greedy and wanted 700 to give me 300 because they were saying I wasn't doing anything but picking up the cash. So they got greedy and started giving me 300 and keeping 700 of the money. And then it just worked up from there. It worked all the way up to where I was getting tens of thousands of dollars from drug dealers
To keep them out of jail.
to keep them out of jail. I would meet drug dealers in malls. I would meet them at their homes. I would go to the jail to meet them, uh, and they would give me bags of money. And I would go to the police operations center on Virginia Beach Boulevard and give the detectives the money behind the parking lot, in the back of the parking lot, or sometimes in the interview room.
So they knew specifically how much you were keeping for yourself and how much you were supposed to give them?
No, they didn't know that. All they knew was what they wanted.
Okay.
Whatever they wanted, I had to put my amount to that.
My goodness. And you said this went on for 20 or 25 years?
25 years. And I found out during trial that I wasn't the only one.
What eventually happened that led all of this for you to go to trial?
Um, a guy that I was helping had got in trouble again before he could go to court on the first charge.
Oh my.
And I told him, I'm going to see what I can do for him, but I doubt if I can help him on the second charge. Then he got caught again, a third time. So the third time, he knew he was out back. He went to work for the FBI as an informant and set me up trying to get someone out of jail. That's how this whole thing got rolling.
Considering you obviously were doing a great job with what they wanted handled, were you the only one in this position, or were there a whole lot of you out here doing the same thing?
There was two other ones that I found out during trial were doing the same thing. But I was the highest person in there. I was the one with the most information. I was the one where with you know, judges, uh, judges' family members, police officers, people like that will come to me when they need it.
My goodness. Help me to understand, and our listening audience, if all the names that you dropped earlier when you and I were discussing this, with people in the
Mhm.
police force, judges, um, city officials, and everyone was in line with all this corruption, what specifically could they hold over to you once they knew you were innocent from the previous charges? So it couldn't just be money to keep you in the system. Was it anything else?
Well, once they told me I wouldn't go to jail, when I first got set up, I got set up by one of the three people that I said was doing this with me.
Okay.
See, he's already deceased now, so I won't say his name. But he was the one who testified in court that he was one of them. And I didn't know he was one of them, but I knew he was the one that set me up to become like he was. So when I found out I wasn't going to jail for something I didn't do, and they told me I could make money by messing with them, they'll call me and let me know the details. I said, okay. So I wasn't called for a long time. It took for my brother to get a DUI, and we're in circuit court. The officer stepped to me and asked me, do your brother have an attorney? And I said, yeah. He said, fire him, meet me in the bathroom. So we met in the bathroom. He told me what he wanted, and he got my brother off the charges. That's how it began.
So that's how he roped you in.
That's how he got me in. Yep.
Considering they have to keep the circle really small and tight, there are other young black gentlemen in jail for things that they haven't done. Why haven't they used some of
Yes.
those up until this point?
Well, a lot of them are trying. I have the Innocence Project calling me. I have high-profile lawyers calling me from Norfolk. So they're trying to get out. It's a time-consuming process. They have to go back and look at all the evidence uh, about this officer to for the judge to even deal with the habeas corpus. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
in order for you to get back in court because of an officer that did something unbecoming, a lot of people are filing habeas corpus as writs to get back into the courts to get to get released because of this officer. So it's a time-consuming process, and legal aid are using students to handle the cases and do all the investigations to give it off to the high-profile legal aid attorneys. So that's why it's taking so long.
Okay, you obviously were doing criminal things, and because you were in cahoots or in bed, so to speak, with everyone else in this process that was supposed to be legitimate and keep things in the system legal, there basically wasn't anything they could arrest you for then, was it?
Well, you can't stop something you can't see coming. You understand what I'm saying? So the deal is, uh, as long as everyone was paid, no one was going to say anything. Who's going to incriminate themselves and risk going to jail? So nobody did. You know. So uh, it's like I felt like I was one of the most powerful people in Norfolk, Virginia. I felt like I couldn't be touched by nobody. I didn't carry myself like that. I was humble, but I felt like if it was anything I'd done, nobody's gonna let anything happen to me because of what I know. And that's what happened. I would go into the jails with charges just to get people out of jail. I was doing stuff like that. The Norfolk Four, I told them about the Norfolk Four years while they was in prison. I was ignored. I told them who originally did that crime, and they ignored me. You know, I told them how I met the guy that did the crime, what was the guy at, what cell block he was in. They ignored the fact, and they still locked me off the force. So they really didn't care about what I thought. They just care about what I could bring to them, and that was it.
Then how were you able to help so many young people, and I'm sure adults as well, beat the system and not have to go to jail?
Word of mouth. It was word of mouth. People found out who I was and what I could do, and it just started from there. Like I would go down to the jail with charges purposely and have a bondsman waiting to get me out before the police officer finishes his paperwork so I can get information on the individual that we're going to get out. I used to do all of that. I used to testify against prosecutors in Chesapeake and beat them with their cases and get guys out of jail.
Wow. Okay, during our discussion,
So,
you mentioned that Britt Johnson, who's a Norfolk prosecutor, gave his number to former President Trump at Tavern on the Green, and he wanted him to pay $50,000 to do something to someone with a crime of violence and
That's
you
correct.
chose not to do this. What was the motivation for you not to at least go to that extent?
Because we never took cases that were a crime of violence because there's victim impact statements and there's victims to those crimes and victims' families. We only did
Right.
nonviolent crime. Okay. So when Donald Trump came to me with this violent, uh, uh, that whatever he wanted me to do for him, I wouldn't take the 50,000. I called back to Norfolk to tell them what was going on. They told me to get out of there, so I left. This was in 2007, before he was even thought about being president.
Were there any repercussions because you chose not to do that?
No, there was no repercussions. There was nothing else talked about it. The only thing I found out is that Donald Trump does own apartments in Norfolk, Virginia. That's the only thing I found out about him. Other than that, I didn't care too much. I just knew I wasn't going to do it.
Okay, you dropped a lot of powerful names implicating those who have done misdeeds. So, have any of them tried to contact you since your time here in Virginia?
No, because the feds advised me to leave Virginia for a little while because the police would probably be trying to set me up to discredit me. So I left for a little while, came back, and then they just I'm just out of their face. They don't know where I am.
Okay.
But like I said, I know too much still about the city of Norfolk that hasn't been prosecuted. Too much. So I was in fear for my own safety at one time behind someone in the police department or them paying some informant to do something to me, but it never happened.
Right. Okay. Well, considering that you are an advocate and you fight police corruption in other states, how is
Hmm.
this going to keep you under the radar so that they don't know where you are?
Well, I'm not trying to stay under the radars, to be honest with you. I'm just doing my thing against corruption. See, I didn't file a lawsuit against the city of Norfolk in 1983. The 1983 is the type of lawsuit that you file for police corruption.
Okay.
And that's the cases I file against departments across the United States. Like in Texas, I was successful for two cases in Texas.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever tell them because of what you're doing, and we're talking about the system,
Hmm.
that you needed more of your cut as opposed to paying them more because, as you said, you were the big man in charge and you knew something about every. So, did that help you bring in more money for yourself?
Well, the bigger the charge, the more money I can bring in. Like they tell me what they wanted, period. I have to make mine off of that. Like if I got like there was one guy that was caught buying 30 kilos of cocaine. He was arrested in Houston, Texas. Okay. I was told to go down there to Houston to find out what's going on. So the guy flew me to Houston first class, had a limousine with my name on it in the hotel, the airport waiting on me, put me in a five-star hotel. All the prosecutors wanted to know who I was, and I was going to get this man out of jail. And he got caught with 300,000 in the door panels, attempted to buy 30 kilos of cocaine. But like I said, the system failed when I got arrested. It was ball game when I got arrested. I was set up, and I wasn't able to completely help that guy in Houston.
Good grief. Is that when you had to appear in federal court and the officials knew
Yes,
the people all involved, but they still did not believe you, even though they know you had well, you didn't really have physical evidence, but you had word of mouth, which really doesn't amount to much, does it?
Oh, it doesn't, but the FBI do their homework. They investigated for
Of
2 years
course.
before they came back. They looked in bank accounts. They talked to other people. They looked at events. They looked at where money was deposited. They knew everything. They listened to phone conversations. So they already knew. And when they saw a U.S. Secret Service agent that was on the Vice President Dick Cheney's team come to testify on my behalf, everybody got quiet. I mean, they didn't know what was really going on then.
So they knew that it was pretty high up, that things were pretty official, and you were on the up and up.
Oh, they knew I was on the up and up, but they're not going to talk to you unless they know you're not lying to them. See, the first lie you tell the FBI, they're done with you, and they can give you 5 years for lying during a pending investigation. But they went and did their homework. They knew things that I had forgotten, so they had already did their homework. They were 100% along with me. And as a matter of fact, 100% of the jury believed me also. So the jury was unanimous all across the board.
So you definitely had to give deposition testimony prior to the court appearance, and
Yes.
the people that you were speaking ill against or were given their information, they still said you were lying.
Well, the FBI didn't say I was lying. The police department did. And they're going to deny it. Like Britt Johnson told my wife that he's going to arrest me and charge me with some old bogus charges when they already listened to the conversation on the recorder to see I wasn't lying. He wanted to charge me anyway to discredit me, but he couldn't. When I was arrested, I had Officer T.C. Williams tell me to remember his face. And I'm like, why would you tell me to remember your face? And I've been paying you for years. So when I
Wow.
get down to the federal building, Britt Johnson is down there to make sure I keep my mouth shut.
Of
But nothing
course.
ever happened to Britt Johnson. He was never brought up on charges. And I don't know why. Maybe he's cooperating or something.
Well, it seems like the Brotherhood in Blue have a strong system there, and they're going to protect their own.
Oh, well, of course we know we got people out there that break the law every day, right? You
Yes.
can't get around that. And you got some police officers are good officers, some police officers are bad officers, okay? You can't get around that either. Like I said, you
Right.
can't stop something that you can't see coming. But the police department are told in roll call to go target these low income areas. They're told to do
Yes.
that. So a cop can go and make a charge on somebody or get probable cause out of something stupid. He can say he smelled marijuana, and that's enough probable cause to search your car. Although he didn't smell marijuana, how you gonna prove he didn't? You see what I'm saying? So now he's searching your car, and he finding illegal stuff in your car, and you're arrested off of a lie from the beginning. They've been doing this forever in the city of Norfolk, and it's not just Norfolk that does it. Virginia Beach is famous for it. Chesapeake, a lot of them are by the book, but you know, but a lot of them are not. I can't speak for Chesapeake, but I know Virginia Beach and Norfolk are as corrupt as you can get it, especially the vice and narcotic divisions.
That is extremely crazy, especially because the police department has access to so much technical information and can gather anything they need to know about you. So you really don't have a chance to defend yourself honestly in court. And that stands for anybody they really want to burn, isn't that?
That's absolutely correct. What they do is they look at your criminal background, and if they know you got a background of drugs, they're gonna find probable cause to search you every time they want to. That's what they do. That's corruption. Okay. Norfolk used to have a rule where you can't harass the same person twice, the same officer.
Right.
But they get away from that. They get by it. They say he looked at me funny when he drove by. So the cop busts a U-turn to go pull you over, and now he got you with something. And that was a lie. See, you
Okay,
got
Mr.
officers like
Adams.
Officer Busby. Officer Aponte, Officer Ballard, Officer Hoggart, Glenn Ford, all those officers, Officer Langowski, they all did that corruption. They all did that criminal behavior. And I was seeing it because I was there.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. I want you to finish what you're saying, but first we need to go to a commercial. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Hi, welcome to Mystique Exotic Salon Boutique. Here I do makeup, skincare, wig installs, natural hair styling, and I sell designer fashions. Come out and see me. I'm located at 956 East Little Creek Road, Norfolk, Virginia, 23518 in Suite 26.
Okay, we're back, and I'm talking with Marcus Adams, formerly of Norfolk, Virginia, and he's given us the insight on police corruption. Thank you, Mr. Adams. Do you want to finish saying what you were saying?
Yeah. Like I was saying, the blue wall of silence is bigger than what people think. And, silence is complicit. When you
Right.
see a crime happening, you keep it to yourself. You know, it's, it's nothing you can really do about it, especially if you got a criminal record. Like I used to know criminal histories on everybody from when they turned 18 on back to 40, 50 years old. I knew
Oh
every charge they
goodness.
had. I had to. I had to know all of that in order to show them that I meant business. You know what I'm saying? Like I could tell them back in 1987, you got a DUI. Then they know, yeah, you've been looking at my record, so you do know. You know what I'm saying? That nobody else can find. So that's what that was about. I had to let them know I knew all about them in order for them to believe what I could do. You know what I mean? And I would get them out, tell them they're going to get a PR bond. Some I could get PR bonds, some I couldn't. Some had to post a bill, but majority of them I can get a PR bond. They turn themselves in, I get them back out. You know what I mean? One time I took a murder suspect to the police operations center. The media was up front. I took him in the back door. Oh, leave mind, he was innocent when he went to court, but I still got him to turn himself in on my word to get it, together in court. He was released, but they were looking for him.
My
So
goodness.
yeah,
You obviously either have photogenic memory because you haven't kept anything written down and you're not having any tapes or anything else. So, how are you able to remember all this on so many people?
can't forget the truth. We can only try to remember a lie. Can't forget the truth. I had a good mind. I knew everything, everybody I did, the amount of monies that was paid, the areas that I gave people money to. Uh, like I remember when I paid a narcotics cop, Ballard, I gave him money the weekend he broke his legs in a car accident. See, I remember all those details so that they can't say that I'm lying, you know? So,
Right.
and I didn't sell drugs. I used to help them, but I never sold drugs. You know what I'm saying? It was the system fighting the system. I couldn't do it without the system. See what I'm saying? Homicide is the highest detective division in the police department. Okay?
Right.
Homicide got the most respect for crimes and solving crimes in any other division in the police department. If a homicide detective comes to court for you, you better bet you're going to get the best deal that you can get.
Okay.
You better bet that. So that's the perfect division to have corruption in. It's homicide.
You
Perfect
have
division.
implicated so many people in so many areas. Why has there not been any retribution against you?
I have no, well, first of all, I'm not in the streets. So I don't know. Maybe because I got a lot of attention around me by being an activist. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Maybe they just want to stay away from me before I come forward. It could be anything. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but I know the FBI has talked to all of them. that I'm telling you about. I know they have. One
So
of
you
them's in jail
basically have,
forever. That's Lane Galsky. He's in jail forever. He'll never get out. The other one is retired, Busby. He's retired. Officer Glenn Ford is retired. I was surprised to see Rick Johnson still a prosecutor. I was surprised at that. I was surprised to see uh, Greg Underwood still a president. I mean, prosecutor. I was very surprised at that. Now, Phil Evans, they kept me from seeing him, but he was the go-to guy. But I never actually dealt with him. And how I know he
okay.
was because Detective Ford would always say, "Let me go talk to Phil Evans to get this taken care of." And you tell him this is what we want. So I would be like that.
If
Yeah.
all of this has gone on while you were here, and even now that you're gone, corruption has not stopped. So it's still going on, which means they've just got a whole new crew and they're continuing on with business as usual. Is that basically how it works?
Yes, it is how it works. They may have changed the way that they uh, detectives get their informants. They may have changed the way that that happens. Um, but corruption is going to always remain. The reason
Right.
is because you got different police chiefs. You got those stupid young rookie officers trying to make a name for themselves. You got a lot of lying, cheating, and stealing going on in the police department. Um, it's just, it's ridiculous. You can't, if the police department can't police themselves, how you going to police the streets? So what I suggest the young black people to do out there, or any race that's a part of corruption, is to go to the city council and get them to talk about this issue instead of tabling it. City councils are famous for tabling issues that the city has. You see, hoping that you don't show up on the next meeting. They love to do that. So you have to go down there with a crowd and not let them table anything, or you better yet take the media with you because you can't do that.
Wow.
So the young black people out there have to learn to go to city council to do their complaints. Now there's getting ready to be a website out there called the Brady List. Okay, well all the officers have to put all their personnel jacket online, and you can go and look this officer up to find out what this officer is about. It's for bad officers and officers on the force who got complaints, reprimands, investigations that are pending, body cam footage, all that stuff is going to be up there. So it's coming out real soon.
Okay. Do you think this is being developed because of the Black Lives Matter and now that the Asians are being discriminated against and so much violence going on? Would this have come about had all these other incidences not happened?
No, it wouldn't have come up, but they've been working on this ever since a lot of unarmed blacks were getting killed
Right.
and body cam footage is out there. So they've been working on it a little longer than that, but it's behind unarmed blacks being killed. Okay. And the public has a right to know because the police officer works for who? The public. Okay. Now, if there's an investigation pending at that time, information that you get will be limited because it's an investigation pending.
Okay.
So, but after that investigation is complete, you can get all that information, body cam footage, witnesses' statements, everything. You can get it all. So that's going to be a good thing. Yep.
Do you feel there will be less corruption on the police force and in government in general if, well, let's just stay with the police force, if their salaries were a little higher so they wouldn't feel that they had to do corrupt, disgusting things?
It will stop one part of it. It will stop the part of it where police officers are seeking monetary gain, especially in narcotics. Okay. They don't turn that money in. They don't turn, but they do turn it in. They turn it up in to keep themselves, within the being a suspect or taking money. But you're never going to stop the corruption because some police officers just have the high on being in control. Okay.
Okay.
Like the George Floyd case, that officer stayed on his neck because of the fact that he could, not because
Yes.
he's corrupt, because he could. Okay. So that's the problem. If you can stop officers from being, uh, how could I say it? idiots out there with badges, I think it'll stop a lot of things. But the money part, it'll never stop. I don't care how much you make. The more they make, the more they spend. These officers be cheating on their wives with other officers, vice versa, going through divorces, child support. They need that money. And the money they make is not enough. It's not enough to substantiate or supplement their other, income that they have to have.
Right.
So
Okay,
it'll never
so
stop.
if the narcotics officers, the detectives, are getting money in the front end and the case goes to trial and they've captured all these drugs and everything else after the trial, I'm sure they're not sitting in a warehouse somewhere forever. So which means they're putting all this stuff right back on the street, rather, so that it can be processed and gone through the whole system all over again. Is that fair to say?
Well, this is how it's supposed to work. Once a police officer seizes evidence, there's a
Okay.
chain of command. The chain of command is in play right then and there. That officer that seized it is the only officer that sealed that evidence is supposed to take that to the evidence room at the POC. Okay. Well, just so happened that Vice Narcotics has a safe. So they put evidence in money and certain drugs in a safe in Vice Narcotics instead of putting it in the evidence room where you're supposed to put it under evidence and get a voucher for it and sealed. So the only officer that touched it is responsible for everything that's dated. Okay. But it doesn't work like that. The evidence officer is not supposed to have any relationship with any other police officers there.
Wow.
Okay. For that reason of letting the officer take evidence or signing evidence out incorrectly.
Okay.
But it doesn't happen like that. Never. Vice Narcotics is the sloppiest division that get away with everything because the courts think all blacks sell drugs. So you can't beat that. You can't beat it. I was in Judge Rutherford's courtroom, standing outside. I was talking to an attorney named Jeffrey Monroe Halleck. Judge Rutherford came out there and told me and Jeffrey Halleck that if this drug dealer was in his courtroom, he'd already be convicted without even. That's how it is. You got Judge Rutherford, Judge Poston was bad, Lydia Taylor was wishy-washy. Judge Martin was one of the most lenient circuit court judges there. Okay. J.P. Fulton, I can't even believe him. Okay. And Judge Jerome James is one of the ones too that's a little wishy-washy as to everything the police say. Judge Edmonds, before he lost his mind, he was kind of bad too. He was bad too. So, and they knew this corruption was going on. They knew lies were being told. They would give officers time enough to get their statements together, call a recess, come back in there, statement totally different, and the guy still gets convicted. Yeah, still convicted. So that's the way it is. If you don't have money, you're in trouble. Because it takes a high-profile attorney like Broccoli or the Decker family or even you got a lot of high-profile, okay?
Right.
But it takes those attorneys to really get to see what's going on. And they're calling me too.
Are
So
any of these people still sitting on the bench?
I don't know if any of them still sitting on the bench or not. No, I wouldn't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
But I know the moment that Judge Jackson, was it Judge Jones in courtroom 5, the black lady, she was in courtroom 5. The moment she kept giving people 12 months in jail, she was giving them the max all the time. And they forced her to resign, but they let Rutherford, a white judge, give people life for sentences that they didn't deserve over and over and over again. And he kept being a circuit court judge. They didn't do anything to him. But they got
And
rid of
he's
Miss Jones.
basically giving these sentences to people of color. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they were getting high sentences. They were getting the maximum for sentences that they could get out in little time. They were getting the max. They would have to appeal it, and by the time they appeal it, it'd be years. See, once you get sentenced in jail, it's years before your appeal come up. You know,
Right.
for a sentence reduction, you will get it, but you've been in there years. You know, so the system is bad in North, and I've seen the whole system inside and out, inside and
Well,
out.
thank you so much. We're going to stop right here and have one more word from our sponsor and a commercial. We'll be right back.
Criminal justice is kind of a contradictory statement. It implies that justice is a definite, or at least implied. We've seen clearly, more than ever before, that's simply not the case. The criminal justice system has become a system that will too easily criminalize and too often deny justice. So I'm running for Norfolk's Commonwealth Attorney, which is the head of the prosecutor's office in the city of Norfolk. I have over 20 years' experience defending citizens who have been overlooked, overcharged, and unfairly targeted. Under my leadership, it will no longer be business as usual. I am Amina Matheny Willard, and I approve this message.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here with Marcus Adams, who is giving us insight on Norfolk, Virginia's police corruption. Mr. Adams, I'd like to ask you, as a civil rights activist, what specifically are you doing?
Fighting for people's civil rights. He was uncharged, who was overcharged or charged for crimes they didn't do, police officers' misconduct, stuff like that.
Okay, how specifically can you help them, though?
Well, they come to me and they tell me what happened, and I've actually filed a couple of pro se lawsuits for several people, free
Okay.
of charge, of course. And we put a police chief in jail, but the prosecutor's dirty, so the prosecutor let him go. We put a police chief in jail and had a whole police department terminated. So it's a lot of things that a person can do if you know where to do it and how to do it. But our people in the streets aren't educated enough to know that they can go to the people that's running their wards. Their councilman works for them. You go to the councilman and you record everything you tell that councilman. So he can't say you didn't tell him that, or he's being sold out because of his constituents. You record everything that you say. And when you go to that council meeting, you go deep and don't let them table it. That's the only way you can beat the system, and vote them out. You have to vote them out. So all these young black people out here that think they can't vote, they can vote. Tell them to go register, vote, and get these people out of there. Vote for people they think will make a change. Don't vote for everybody. Don't vote for someone because everybody else voted for them. Vote for someone that they believe can make a change.
Well, hopefully all of the people that we're putting in office, we would expect them to make a change and work for the people since we pay their salaries. Having the inside
Yes.
track on so much that was going on corruptly, that gives you an edge as far as helping those that are in need as a civil rights activist. When you advocate for justice in other police stations, you said that you had the chief fired, he got fired, and the whole police force. How come this hasn't been on TV and in the news? We haven't heard anything about this.
It's been all over the news. It's on all YouTube videos, everything. It's been on the news. I had a news team. I had my own news team. I was taken down to KRS Channel 6 News. I was taken into the newsroom, and they gave me my own team. So every time I go after something, they're there. You know what I'm saying? So it's been all over the news, everywhere. In this area, though, you know what I'm saying? Not that
Right,
area, but it's
okay.
been on the news here.
Okay.
I can send you some videos from YouTube, the Channel 6 channel. that's been on the news and stuff like. I had one time a mayor jumped in my face, wanted to assault me in front of the whole police department standing behind me.
Oh my gosh.
The mayor, yes. So it's been all over the news. City managers corruption, uh, mayors corrupt, uh, money being stolen. They're doing things to buy property to give their family wealth and forgetting about the citizens, keeping the streets tore up, no street lights, no parks for the kids to go play because they're putting it all in their pocket. They're misappropriating funds. And see, I know all this by putting in open records requests and finance. So that's how you find out a lot of stuff. If you want to find out what's going on in your ward, put in for the financial documents or anything you want to and ask for a detailed itemized statement along with bank account numbers, routing numbers. They tell you everything.
My
Everything.
goodness. Okay, for so long you were on the wrong side of the law, doing a lot of corruption and everything with everyone else. Now that you're an advocate for truth and justice, do you feel that that's going to wash everything else you did in corrupt before?
No. Nothing can nothing can undo what you've already done. All you can do is try to give back, make amends, better yourself. You can't get that back. I can't get that back. Am I ashamed of myself? Yes. But I was set up from the beginning. I wanted to actually be a police officer, and they knew that. So I was set up, to force me into this. But I could have said no. I could have, but I didn't. So no, nothing will make up for what I've done. I never hurt anyone. I've never committed a crime of violence, but I did wrong by what I did. And all you can do is give back and try to talk to the younger generation that's growing up and tell them the do's and the don'ts. And education is the key. Stay off the streets, get yourself an education, take care of your family. That's the only thing you can.
I hope our listening audience is really paying attention and taking notes with all this. Considering you were so young when all this originated, what specifically would they have held over you as far as keeping you in jail for a substantial amount of time? Were you not willing to do maybe the year or two they might have put on you, or was it a lot more than that?
No, I would have gotten probation. Come to find out, I didn't know. See, first time offense, you get probation on any non-violent crime. First offense, you're going to get probation for it. Any non-violent crime. Okay, that's the way the system is. There's a point system. See what I'm saying? And there's a background check. It's called a pre-sentence report. Once they do the PSR, found you've never been in trouble before, the prosecutor offer you probation for a guilty plea. And that's what the court-appointed attorneys go at. Probation. They don't care if you did it or not. So I could have gotten probation and got away with it. Well, I would have had a record though. See what I'm saying? And I was promised to seal my criminal history, but it never got done.
So were
Yeah,
you a minor?
I was promised to seal my history. Yeah. It wasn't going to take away the charges, but it was going to seal my criminal history so I could get normal jobs like everyone else. You know what I'm saying? If I wanted to
Right.
work here, I could work there without them saying, no, you're a convicted felon. We can't hire you. But they didn't do that. They didn't seal my record.
And they probably bogart and railroad just about every young black person that's in jail unjustly. My goodness. What's it going to take at
That's
this
the way it
point
is.
for us to actually clean up the system, starting at the top and working everything, down to the lowest level? Because it took all these years for things to be this way. And now that we see the corruption, media has brought everything to the forefront so you can see and hear everything that's going on. We just need the legal system to become positive and honest, and those scales be weighed for justice the way they're supposed to. What else do you think it's going to take
Exactly.
for us to do?
It's going to, like I said, it's going to take being educated. Police come out, keep it moving. Don't agitate the police. Don't harass the police. Let them do their job. If they're doing something wrong, that body camera better be rolling. The moment they turn that body cam on, it has already recorded 2 minutes back when they turn it on. Okay? So they got 2 minutes of that body cam footage prior to the original body cam footage. So if they don't have it on, the police department is automatically in the wrong. They have to have it on. Don't taunt the police. Don't harass them. Let them do their job. If you feel like your rights are being violated, let them do what they do to get them out of there and take it to civil courts or to an attorney afterwards and let them deal with it.
That sounds all well and good, but as you've seen, history has proven time and time again, you don't have to be doing anything and you're still targeted, you're still shot, you're still killed, you're still harassed. So nothing has really changed a whole lot.
Well, you have to set an example. You have to start putting cops in prison. You have to set an example, okay? Um, until these juries out here are holding these police officers accountable and putting them in prison, nothing's gonna change. These police officers think if they go to court, they're gonna beat the charges, get their job back, get back pay, and what do you call it? Like Detective Ford, he's getting his pension while he's in prison. Do you know how much
Wow,
money he has saved up? He's been in prison
that's
10 and a half
crazy.
years and he's drawing his pension every month. So
That needs to
it
stop
doesn't
too.
change.
Is there any legislation or laws that can prohibit something like that?
Yes, you have to go down. What you have to do is you have to start at the lowest level, like I said, city council's office. Go to city council meetings. Then you talk to the lieutenant governor before you can get to the governor. And you want them to start holding police officers accountable for their actions. And let's start taking their pensions as well as monetary damages from the city, from these police officers. That'll stop them then. Anytime you go in their pocket, that'll change their mind.
Okay, so even though it appears that there are a large amount of police that are corrupt, it's really a small cluster, and there's still a lot of good officers out here that really want to do the right thing, and they are protecting the public. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, of course you got good officers everywhere. Okay. Uh, but what makes those officers bad is their silence. They know something that's going on and they keep their mouth shut about it instead of telling someone. They're scared of being a rat in the police department. No
Right.
one would trust them. And like I say, silence is complicit. So you have a lot of officers that are good, but they're scared to say anything. So that, to me, in my book, they're just as bad. But then you got the bad officers training officers the bad way, recruiting bad officers. Then you have the police academy that are training these idiots out there with badges on that don't teach them how to handle cases to where someone may have a medical condition instead of being drunk or on drugs all the time. You see what I'm saying? So you got
Yes.
that. And I've heard in roll call before a sergeant tell the officers in roll call, forget about what you learned in the academy. You know what you have to do out there on the street. Let's get to it.
My
How is that
goodness.
possible?
Absolutely. Mr. Adams, I want to thank
So
you
you
so
can't
much for
stop.
being part of our show this evening. I'm sure the listening audience has heard maybe more than they really were anticipating, but it needs to be said, it needs to be heard. And I'm hoping that you'll come back and shed some light on corruption across the country, here in Norfolk, I'm sorry, and just be that beacon of light that you are continuing to be.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
have been watching ESP TV. My name is Karen Bryson, and as always, be a blessing to at least one other person each day. Good night.